This is Jackie, and I'm here with Bird Streets. How are we doing this afternoon, this evening, this morning, whatever time zone you happen to be in?
Yeah, doing so well. It is mid-afternoon on a Sunday.
Very nice. Your
FYI.
newest single, Everyone We Love Will Go Away. Very fitting title, accurate. How does it showcase the sound on your new album, The Escape Artist, that came out last week?
I think that song is kind of in a way the centerpiece of the record. It actually sits dead center on the record, which is also funny. But it's like because it's kind of a itchy, paranoid kind of squirrely record, or at least the vibe of it is like there's a lot of it was a lot of it was written during COVID and recorded. We started a lot of it during that era, and it was there was a lot of like uncertainty and paranoia and stuff around, and I kind of channeled a lot of that into the songs, and then that particular song is it's a really manic kind of it moves fast, and it's got these it's a real like somebody said the vibe of it is because it's got also kind of this Arabic sort of scale over the top of it. Somebody said they don't know whether to frog or belly dance to it. I thought that's a good way to sum it up. But it's yeah, I don't know. I think it really kind of encapsulates all the strangeness of that time, because we recorded that in like May of 2021, and things were weird.
And
um,
things are just a different kind of weird now. So it's just,
yeah,
I kind of think that songs that were sort of born of that era are still very relevant today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one of the first ones we did for the record, and I just kind of kept coming back to it. Like that's kind of the that's the crux of it all. Yeah, things never got less weird. They just got different weird.
Yes, that's for sure. You mentioned the song is kind of smack in the middle of the album. How much time and brain power did it take to create the order of your album?
That's a cool question. I feel like I have a pretty good sense of how to run a record, how to put a record together, and the way we made this record and the way we made the first. I recorded with Jason Faulkner in Los Angeles. He produced it and was the other player on it. It's mostly just the two of us, and the way he kind of produces these things, at least with me, is we tend to like have a couple songs at the beginning. We'll pick the first three or four, and we'll do those. And then when we come back, a couple months later, because we're on opposite coasts or however long it is, we kind of pick songs that feel it's like something else is, that needs to go in the mix. So it kind of sets itself up over the course of the couple years. In this case, it was front to back. It took closer to 4 years to finish, but um, by the time we had all the songs, it was like it kind of had an obvious path. I knew what the last song was going to be. I knew what the first song I wrote to be the first song, and the second song I always knew those were going to be one and two. And then from there, it was just sort of naturally fell together. There was maybe a couple things I moved around in the second half of the record, but it just sort of felt, as you're going, you make playlists, and you start messing around with it. So I couldn't put like a number on how long it took, but this one felt like it made sense pretty quickly once we had all the tunes.
Going back to the track Everyone, who came up with the video treatment for the song?
My wife had the idea of there was one David Bowie video which was not Life on Mars, even though that the blue suit definitely goes there. It was Be My Wife was the video, and I had basically said, like, from the drop I wanted to do something was like very simple, very performance based, just me. And I thought of the White Room thing was good, and she made that reference, and it was like, okay, that's what we're going for. Um, and then I worked with this guy David Dubinin, who he did a couple videos off our first record, and he's done a lot of videos for like Juliana Hatfield and John Doe and some people like that, and he's great at the how to make a music video look like a music video, because we do a lot of our videos have been sort of narrative um, based, and a little more, I don't want to say artistic, but you know what I mean. Like, but this one it was just like, no, this is just like, let me just jump around in a room and, and then chop it up and it'll be cool. He did a great job on that.
What role do you feel music videos have in 2025 when MTV has officially been retired as of a week or two ago?
Wow, so weird. I think we all grew up with MTV. It's like,
Yes.
how is that possible? That's a good question because like I don't know. I don't really know. I think I think music videos are a good alternative to the other thing, which is reels and TikTok, and like which is so much of just person lip syncing their own song, which is that's what a music video is, but like it's usually just like a static shot of somebody like lip syncing a song in a field, and it's like that's how we're marketing music and stuff, and it's got its place, but like I think people still want to see another element, and really get to know the artist and see a different, artistic side, which that's what a music video brings to the table for me.
And that video specifically, I feel like it nods to that early Britpop. Are there some artists from that era that you're particularly fond of?
Of Britpop, oh yeah, sure. I mean, I just went to see Pulp. I've seen Pulp twice in the last couple of years. I think that's probably my
Nice.
favorite one of the bunch. I was really into Blur back in the day, Oasis, all the that's the big three, I guess. But like, yeah, that was a really big sound. I didn't think it's funny because I didn't really think of that when we were making the track. And it just sort of wound its way there. But yeah, I love that whole era of music. Um,
Speaking of that sound, I feel like listening to your songs, there's like this warmth of that analog sound, but it's also modernized. Was that texture intentional or something that was sort of organic?
I think it's an organic thing. I mean, we record. Even though Jason records a lot of analog input, it's still ending up in Pro Tools. It's still ending up digital at the end. But like, everything goes through an old mixing board and a lot of outboard gear, so it does get that analog warmth, and it kind of gives it that old school sound a little bit. Uh, yeah, it's not that it's intentional. It's just like that's just part of the process that how we how we make records together. But I always gravitate to that. The modern part is just that's the songs that I write, and I feel like the songs I write are not tied to any particular era, but the recordings that I like, I tend to gravitate to things, from 30 years ago. You know what I mean, and more. And I want to emulate those sounds, and I think that's what we're.
And how do you replicate that sound, or do you replicate that sound when you then perform those songs live?
I think of live as a different thing. I mean, the last album we put out, Lagoon, was a little more orchestrated, a little more lush. There was a lot of keyboards and strings and things on it. So we expanded the band and played as like a 5-piece a lot with a keyboard player to try to like replicate that stuff. But I don't know, the more just kind of like rock and roll stuff. Eh, I'm not too tied to like the exact sounds. I just want to like just play the song and jump around a little bit, and sell the song.
Is there a song on the particular on this album that went through the most change from the demo to the final product?
Well, not a ton of demos. I shouldn't. That's not true. I probably demoed half of the songs on this record, but just like acoustic kind of, this is what the song sounds like things. This album, not so much. Like this record, I kind of came in with a lot of finished ideas. There's a couple songs that Jason helped out with the kind of writing and finishing of. Like Run for Our Lives actually is maybe the one because that song I wrote the verse in like 1998 or 7 or something like that, like a long time ago, and I just had this verse and a couple of verses, and I just didn't know where it was supposed to go. I had tried a bunch of choruses, and then I brought it to Jason, and he had this chorus idea, this melody and these chords, and I was like, oh, there it is. So like it finished the song. But like so in terms of something being very different from what I originally envisioned it to be, that's probably the best example. But on the first record we made together, there were songs where we thought we had finished the song, and then I went back and like completely rewrote the vocal. That happened a little bit on the song "It's a Start" on this record, where I just kind of like went back when we were mixing it. I was like, can I completely change the lyrics? And it's always for the better. I like writing right up until the very end, like it's not done until it's done, you know what I mean? Until it's in people's hands. But
There also seems to be a recurring theme, and perhaps because it was largely written during COVID times, of like connection and stability, which are the two things that we lacked the most during that time. Is your songwriting, is it autobiographical or is it referential?
A little bit of both. Um, yeah, a little bit of both. Especially on this record, I think there was more like kind of character. I was kind of slipping into like "Wasted Years" is very much just a story. It's very much third person. Um, but yeah, it's a little bit of both. I'm like some of it I'm shaking out demons, and some of it I'm just like I get an idea and just see what rhymes and what feels good. Um, but I don't know that this record was as autobiographical as some previous ones I made. Bedhead, for instance, the opening track is about the like literal apocalypse. Like so far so good on that.
Do you feel that there is more catharsis in songwriting or performing for you?
Different. They're different. The catharsis in live performance is so immediate and so yeah, you just it's all energy, it's all adrenaline. So on the surface, I would say that, but I don't know when I'm writing a song and I you get the seed idea, and sometimes it just like it takes ages to finish the idea, and like when you finally get there, and you're like, that's it, that's the song. I don't know. It's a very different feeling. I don't know if it's as cathartic as it is just like what's the word I want? Rewarding or it's a different feeling, but it is I guess a little bit cathartic. It's a special thing.
Has there ever been a time where a listener interpreted a song of yours completely different than your intention and it sort of changed your perspective on it?
Hmm. I feel like I have an answer to that, but I'm not placing it. Hmm. Want to circle back. I feel like I've definitely had that happen. I just can't think of an example. Like, because yeah, I tend to write a little bit vague sometimes. Especially like the more emotional songs. I'm not always exactly talking about what I'm talking about. So sometimes people do come back and with a whole different take on it.
You spoke a little bit earlier about, videos and their place. When it comes to social media, where do you find sort of the crossroads of being authentic and advertising, because that's how we find out about things right now?
Yeah, right. Hmm. uh, I have a hard time with it. I struggle with it a lot because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just selling a product.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the part of like TikTok and all that stuff that I'm like, even though strangely, I mean, I'm learning, I'm getting there, but like, strangely, TikTok is, I think I've misinterpreted because it's more the things that do better there is when you're just like goofing around and being yourself, and I think people want to see that more, that authenticity. Um, but I'm old school, and I come from like everything's packaged, everything is very particular when I present it to you. So it's always a little bit of a delicate balance between those two things. Um, there's a way to do it to to nail both at once. I'm just always working on that.
Yeah, I think it's a learning process probably for most artists and bands, because it's always evolving. Once you think you have figured it out, then it's completely different. So don't
Right.
exist anymore.
It is changing by the day, basically, right now. Yeah, and nobody has any real answers. I feel like.
Music, especially during COVID, but daily and obviously during some of the whatever you call this nonsense we're living through right now,
Yeah.
music is a good place to either escape to or find solace in. Who do you press play on when you're having a particularly tough day to kind of either change your mood or change your mind?
Ooh, well, um, to change my mood, I don't know. I could go back to say like Pulp or something like that, which is just like all vibe and all attitude, something like that. That's not necessarily the first one all the time, but if I'm looking to live in the mood for a little while, it's probably Elliott Smith.
Right, I like these choices. I love asking artists and bands from all different genres to see who
Yeah,
they gravitate towards, because some of us like to live in the suck and we like the sad music, and if we're sad and angry, if we're angry, and others like the opposite kind of music that brings us to that emotion. I think it kind of depends on what's going
yeah.
on.
But I mean, there's a few records like that if I want to just like feel the feelings, like let's, like it'll pull me right out of a thing, and it's like the two Jellyfish records are records that anytime I put them on, I'm just like, okay, here we go, like that. That's a good mood changer. Something like that. Yeah.
With new music out, what's up next for the next couple of months for you?
I'm gonna be doing some solo dates. I got some things in the Midwest and the West Coast and Northwest coming up in November and December. Doing some more writing and some recording while I'm out on those. And we're gonna hopefully do some band shows in the new year because I just don't get to play with the full band as much as I'd like to. And we just did our release show on Friday, and it was like I need to do this all the time. This is so much fun. And then yeah, there's another record that's almost done. So yeah, maybe this time next year we'll have another thing.
And the cycle continues. Well, stay tuned for much more from Bird Streets. This is Jackie. Thanks to In the Key of Change and Chorus FM.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much.